The player I'm the most excited about, if I'm being real with you, and I wanted to get to this eventually, is Isaiah Williams, because Isaiah Williams,
Yes.
dude's he's been impressing a lot of people since he's been here, and he already talked about how he draws inspiration from Khalif Raymond and Amon-Ra St. Brown in terms of their work ethic. So he is motivated to work. Again, just because you work hard doesn't mean you're going to be one of the best, but he has the right mindset, and I think Isaiah Williams is going to surprise a lot of people. Fun fact, in the NFL, you'd be surprised how many players are undrafted that play in this league.
33% of the league.
Dude, it's a bigger percentage
chunk
than many think. Undrafted, not saying every undrafted free agent is a dude, but there's certain you look at, right? Isaiah Williams got the most guaranteed money out of all the guys they signed, or one of the most. It's got to mean something, fellas. He would have been a draft pick. He wasn't. He's still got a lot of value in Isaiah Williams.
I think you could give Antoine Green a run for his money. I think both of them will make the roster, but as far as the depth piece, I think he brings a lot more just with his skill set as far as being able to put in the slot and in the outside than what Antoine Green can bring. I think Antoine's a lot more raw with better intangibles, but when you look at Isaiah, just his build, his route running, and what he did in college, I think he's a lot more of a complete receiver. So if he ends up sliding in front of Antoine at the end of the training camp, I would not be surprised whatsoever.
He was expected to be a fifth-round pick, I believe, was like where he was supposed to go, and he drops and falls and doesn't get drafted. He was the second, and I know obviously the Big Ten isn't have like SEC wide receivers or anything like that. He was the second best wide receiver in the Big Ten, though, behind Marv. Maserati Marv.
Roman Wilson was out there.
And he was the second best, like when it came to stats and everything. That's kind of what the word was with him in the Big Ten. So to me, I think there's a chance he goes out there and he can give you some sort of production. And it's just one of those things, like you said, 33% of the league is undrafted free agents. And why can't, especially when you come into a position, I stand on this all the time, especially even with late round draft picks, and why you see Brad kind of now hit on more is because some of these guys are coming into such a great position and a great franchise that's built. They have what they want, and if you come in and just do what the coaches tell you to do, like if you come in and do what Ben Johnson needs you to do, you might not go out there and have it a role like Amon-Ra St. Brown, obviously, but if you're really great at your role, like people like when we talked about Josh Reynolds, like Gentry, how you went out Josh Reynolds about how he's been on so many teams and hasn't produced, but when he was in Detroit, he produced because he just went out there and said, I'm just going to do what Ben wants me to do. And what kind of my job is in this offense. If Isaiah Williams does that and comes in and just gives you something, he has the talent to go out there and play. You remember the first day we talked about him? He is very good at yards after catch. Guess who else is? Khalif Raymond, J-Mo, Amon-Ra, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs. That's what this offense is. This is an offense built around yards after catch with Jared Goff. That is his specialty, and that's what he was so good at in college, in breaking tackles and all that. So I think he actually fits really well.
And do you think they could have, Lucas, this is really to you, since they didn't go out and sign a wide receiver, do you think this is the guy that they could have that type of confidence in to where they push those other guys away? I mean, obviously you talked about Antoine Green. He could maybe be getting pushed aside, but was he like their option, do you think, at wide receiver? Because he is one, like Boone said, he obviously went undrafted, but he was supposed to be drafted, and he does have a lot of things to his game that benefit the Lions offense, really.
I mean, I'm sure as of right now he is, because, I mean, this is a run-first team, and like Jeff's been preaching, and we all might not agree with him, but this is not really a glaring need. You're talking about wide receiver 5 or 6, so give the guy that you just paid a pretty sizable undrafted free contract, give him a chance, because if he does, then boom, you solve the problem. You don't have to bring in anybody else to learn the system. But if there's a training camp cut where there's a guy that we've been talking about to the likes of Zay Jones, a stat tier wide receiver that gets cut during camp, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Brad's like, well, at least bring him in, give him a look, and then if he signs him, great. But as of right now, I'm imagining that that's their plan, is just sticking with Isaiah Williams and see what you can get out of him.
And fun fact about Isaiah Williams too, man, he was people coming out of high school, 4-star recruit, and he had
Kirby
offers.
Loves him.
Yeah, I mean, he had offers from Illinois. I believe he had interest from Clemson, Alabama, Auburn. Like, this isn't some like, hey, just some Illinois wide receiver. Like, he was looked at as a great prospect coming out of high school, and he chose Illinois. Like, he had an opportunity to go play at Alabama as well. Like, and you look at what he did at Illinois. And I know the first 2 years he was a quarterback. It was weird, but he came out and he was a wide receiver and he played well. He got better every single
That's
year.
an advantage, though. Because I didn't know, if you're a wide receiver and you're a former quarterback, that is such an advantage because you're so much more quarterback friendly because you know what a quarterback needs when it comes to when you want to sit in zone coverage. Okay, where's a better spot? When it comes to release and just timing with everything, having a former quarterback play wide receiver, it's very, very beneficial.
Travis Kelce, wasn't he a former quarterback?
He was.
There we go. Isaiah Williams,
Ohio legend.
Isaiah Williams, future Hall of Famer.
Full Slate Farms. I think they're super high on Antoine Green. The way Brad talked on 97.1 the other morning. You see Steve Wilds, DPJ, and Jam will have more than adequately handle Reynolds snaps. Yeah, I see. Look at the
It does feel like, Jeff, I'm coming around to what you were talking about when it comes to DPJ and JMO, because when you hear, again, like we talked about this Friday, when you hear Brad Holmes speak about these things, it helps you feel a little bit better and get an idea of where their mind's at. And they've been really good and they've been pretty spot on with guys. So like when they say, hey, JMO's taking a big step and he looks really, really good and we think he's going to fill that spot. All right, I trust Brad. When he says DPJ is very underrated and just because he hasn't done it the last few years doesn't mean he can't, and you put him in a spot in this offense, I trust Brad. And the same thing with Antoine Green. He thinks the Antoine Green development's going really well. I trust him. And now you add Khalif Raymond onto that and these other I trust Brad Holmes. So that's why I'm starting to come around a little bit on this wide receiver room. It's just, again, if they added someone, I'm not going to sit here and there we go, Brad. Now you're cooking over here.
See, that's
like I said, DPJ is going to have a great year next year. It's going to be similar to Josh Reynolds, and people are going to forget that it ever even happened. All those people clamoring to bring him back because of the chemistry him and Goff have, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. DPJ is going to have just as big of a year as Josh Reynolds has. Obviously, it might take some time to reach that point, but it's not going to be that much of a difference having DPJ compared to Josh Reynolds.
The chemistry stuff, chemistry stuff
Here we go.
just drives me absolutely wild because do you watch Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jared Goff? Do you watch Sam Laporta in year one with Jared Goff? Like, these guys are in sync. Like, there's only so much chemistry that you want until you just get, okay, now let's get some real deal, just breaking the game talent. And when you look at guys like, not saying DPJ is a game breaker, but he has those intangibles. Jamison Williams, I think we can all agree, is a game breaker. So it's like, oh, what's going to happen to the camaraderie of the passing game, the chemistry? What's going on? It's like, it was fine. It's going to be fine. Josh Reynolds, great C+, B- wide receiver. Those things grow on trees in the NFL. I'm sorry.